that all of those shows were really fun. And the day before this tour started, I actually picked up a new harp. I just got a new harp. So figuring out this harp and how how it feels to play and with the band has been a fun experience.
That's awesome. How much is it very usual for harpists to get new harps? Is that something you have like a big collection?
They're so expensive. So, I used the same harp for 20 years, and I just got a new harp, new to me harp. This harp was built in the 90s.
Oh, wow.
But my other harp was built in the 60s, so she was ready to retire.
It sounds like it. She's put in the work.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, what a crazy instrument. I wanted to ask, for people who might not know, you singer-songwriter, like I said, also harpist, and you grew up doing both things, but went to school and got a degree in harp performance. Is that right?
Yep.
So how do you, and it's been a while since you've graduated, but I'm wondering, we played some music before you came on, so hopefully people got a sense that your music is not straight classical music. It has a lot of different influences and sounds. But how do you think that you incorporate your classical training into the music you make today, or do you at all?
Yeah, I mean, in order to play the harp, you have to have some sort of training, just because it's a difficult instrument to play.
Mm-hmm.
And you just need to, having the right technique has just really helped me. And, knowing how to read music and the theory behind different chord changes is all important to me. But, I just use those years of studying the instrument to just play with my band, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really think about it, but it's just the instrument that I know how to play, so that's why I play it.
Yeah. Do you have are there any like conventions of, I don't know too much about writing music on the harp, evidently, but are there any conventions that you've had to break out of from that training? It makes a lot of sense that, like, to play the harp, you just have to have that training, but is there anything like specific to the classical music style that you've had to break out of in playing more modern or more contemporary music?
Yeah, I mean, as a classical musician, you are taught to read what's on the page and, play a piece just as it was written 50 years ago or whenever. So learning how to improvise has been newer for me. So I'm still learning, and I need to study that more, but I really like taking that direction with my band. And that's not something that's common for a classical musician to do. So it's taking a bit more work, and I still kind of feel like I don't really know what I'm doing when I'm improvising, but it's fun to know that there's a lot more to learn, and you're just always evolving as a musician.
Yeah, that's cool to hear, especially if you're playing as long as you have, that there's still room to grow and still more things to learn. I bet that makes just being on tour constantly and having this be your career feel fresh, and not get old, hopefully.
Definitely.
Cool. Now I'm curious, when you're writing music, do you have to write the parts you compose on sheet music? Is it easy to keep these things in your head?
I never do that. Yeah, because, when you write a song, and like when I write a song, I'll just, present it. I'll bring it to the band, and then we just work it out in band practice. So there's really no, all the arranging is done in real time, and the song like changes as we play it more
Mm-hmm.
and figure out what works and what doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, sometimes if you could like write a lead sheet out for someone where you just write the chords down, but never necessarily like the actual notes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, interesting. I think I need to look up what a piece of sheet music for the harp looks like, and I think that would drill into my head that
it's like piano.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It's just like piano, 2 claps. But you know, I haven't really relearned or learned any new classical material in a long time, which I've been beating myself up about. I really want to get back and revisit some things that I used to play, you know, a decade ago.
Mm-hmm.
But nowadays it's just, you know, in learning a song, you just figure out what the chords are, maybe write down some of the lyrics and the chord changes, and that's all you really need to know.
Yeah, cool. Well, you mentioned bringing music to your band and figuring it out while together, and that seems to be a big theme of your most recent album, And Southern Star, which is named after your band members. I just thought it was so cool, kind of your long history with them. For people who might not know, what is your relationship to your band, and how is this album, And Southern Star, different from your first album delivery?
So I grew up with my grew up around the corner from each other and became good friends in high school. So I started writing songs when I was 11 years old, but when we became friends, I would show him songs I was writing because he is also a songwriter. And eventually we started playing shows together. It started off as just the 2 of us. My first show was a house show in Rochester, New York, right after high school. And then my first proper show was at a dive bar in Rochester called the Bug Jar. And it was me playing harp, and Alex was playing the glockenspiels. The glockenspiel, like bells. Wasn't playing a full drum set yet, but eventually we started incorporating drums, and then we incorporated guitar. Alex met Kian in college. They went to SUNY Purchase, and so Kian joined the band on guitar, and eventually his younger brother Shane joined on bass, and the 4 of us have been playing together for just about 10 years, longer with Kian and with Alex. And then Kurt joined the band on pedal steel more recently, but still like 4 or 5 years ago. We just knew Kurt from the local scene in Rochester. He played with other bands around town, and the 5 of us started playing together, and it just is something really special. I love playing with those guys. So the last album, Alex and Shane are on that one as well, but it was recorded with a producer, with John Congleton in Texas mostly. And we brought the songs to him without really much of an arrangement, so that he could help us, you know, mold how these songs were going to be recorded. And then there were other session musicians who played on that album. But this new album is totally homegrown. It's just the 5 of us. We all arranged these songs together, and everyone has a hand in writing these songs. And we recorded much of it live at our friend's studio, and then Kian recorded the rest of it just in our apartment at the time. So I'm really proud of it because we produced it ourselves, recorded much of it ourselves, without any sort of direction from the label, and then went and had it mixed by our friend Mike Fridman at Tarbox Road Studios, and there was really no direction of knowing like where this album would go, if anyone would be interested in it or want to release it. So it was kind of refreshing though, because my last album was funded by a label, and so they had their hand in it and could tell me, you know, we like this or we don't like this, or like we think you should work with this person or that person. So it was refreshing to just have no strings attached and just do whatever we wanted to do, and know that at the end of the day, even if nobody wanted to put out the album, we were happy with it.
Yeah.
But then Kill Rock Stars ended up putting it out, so it all worked out.
Yes, that sounds a lot less stressful to not have to really go off of anybody else's whims, but just to follow what you and the band were thinking. So I'm glad that happened. When you were, and I think it's interesting because Delivery, your first album, it seems to deal with themes of pressure of having to create an album for somebody else, or with somebody else expecting something from you, while And Southern Star seems a little more free and a little more exploratory. So I'm just wondering, between the albums, like what drove your songwriting then? Well, confirm if Delivery kind of, you felt that pressure in your songwriting, and then if like what were you drawing inspiration from lyrically for And Southern Star?
Yeah, I definitely, you're right, and I didn't really realize it at the time until after the entire album was written and ready to go. And that's kind of what happens when you're writing a song. Sometimes you don't even know what it's about until after you've written it, or like a collection of songs. I mean, this album, there's some songs that Kian wrote, or songs that we co-wrote, songs that Alex and I co-wrote, and then a couple of songs that I wrote. So it's really like a collection of all of us. And we just, put these songs together because we were playing them live already. And it's not really like a concept album or something that I like thought a lot about what exactly every song is going to be before I put them together. But after recording the collection of songs, it feels like they all really go together.
Yeah, I would agree. And there's definitely like, yeah, just in terms of sound and content wise, I feel like they flow together. When you were writing the songs, some of which appeared on this album, or when you write songs in general, and I know that not all of the songs on the album were exclusively you, like you said, but do you have any topics or themes that you find yourself gravitating to all the time, or any habits that you find yourself falling into?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's usually inspired by life events, or sometimes inspired by like something that I'm experiencing, or maybe a friend or a family member, like going off of a story that they're going through.
Mm-hmm.
It really depends. But I don't know, there's not really like a method that I ever use when I'm songwriting. And I'm a really slow songwriter too. Like sometimes it takes me years to finish a song or come back to it and remember, oh yeah, I had that idea. It's either like really slow or really fast. Like I'll write a song in a day. But two of the songs that I wrote on the album came from an exercise that I did with some friends where we wrote a song every day, 7 days in a row, made a demo of it and shared it with each other, which was really good for me. It kind of forced me to finish what I started. So I know that that's the sort of pressure I need to give myself to
Mm-hmm.
to finish a song, like have a deadline. Yeah.
Yeah.
It depends though.
Okay. That makes sense. I feel, yeah, it's always really interesting hearing the time it takes people to write stuff and what they're writing about. Neat.
Yeah, often I'll write on piano and then switch over to harp. I'm not sure if it's because, I'm always playing harp, so it's kind of refreshing to write on a different instrument, or what really it is. But I like writing on piano.
Okay. And do you find yourself coming up with those melodies and chords before you write lyrics, or do you come with lyrics and then?
Most of the time, it's the melody first, chords. I'm always humming melodies.
Mm-hmm. How does that work with your band? Do you feel like you guys have compatible ways of putting songs together? Is there ever anything that could be a disagreement or a different styles of working with each other? Or have you kind of learned how to do that over the years?
Yeah, it's always been easy just because I'm so comfortable with them because we've been friends forever. If I'm co-writing with someone I don't know, I often will feel like I don't want to show them my idea because I don't know if it's any good,
Mm-hmm.
So, because I feel more comfortable with Alex or Keen, it's easier to just show them the idea and they'll, and then we can hash it out. But Alex and Keen are both great lyricists, so I like taking a song, for instance, to Alex and showing him what I have so far with lyrics or chords, and he helps me just fill in the rest with lyrics.
Okay, cool. I'm wondering because I'm sure there are songs that you've co-wrote with people where it is just you singing on the song, but you have a couple collaborations with the Staves, who I'm a big fan of on Delivery. I'm wondering what the process with writing with them. What was that like? Because they're in kind of a similar territory as you in terms of sound. So did that make it easier to write, knowing that they would also be on the song, or how did that writing process even go?
So though they didn't write those songs, those were just songs that were on my album. I asked them to sing on.
Okay.
And we toured together a couple times. So that's how we became friends. And when I was recording that album, it was soon after one of our tours. So our friendship was pretty fresh, and I was thinking about their harmonies and just asked them to sing on a couple tunes.
Yeah. Okay.
It was really fun that they were able to do that. So they recorded their harmonies from afar in England.
Okay. But that's I'm sure you understood their sound and how it could be incorporated into your stuff. But those are some of my favorite songs off of Delivery, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool.
I'm wondering, in terms of, because you've done a lot of, not only collaborations, but you've played with a lot of people, as you, in terms of opening for people and you yourself joining other bands. How do you think of yourself as a musician when you're supporting other people in a group versus you when you're the front woman or leading a project? Is there a difference in your mind, like when you're supporting someone versus when you are being supported by others?
Yeah, I mean, when I'm sitting in with someone or playing in someone else's band, I'm definitely more careful and with what I play or sing, because it's not, when it's my band, I'm not thinking about it as much, but it's really fun to play with other bands. I really love collaborating with different artists, and it can be scary too, because I don't want to mess it up, or I don't want them to dislike what I'm playing. But in general, it seems like people are usually pretty stoked to have a harp up on stage with them, so it works out for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I can't just, in like going back and doing some research on who you've played with and past projects you've been involved with or past shows that you've been in, I can't think of too many other musicians that I know that are like doing, it seems like, as much supporting work or playing their instrument with other bands in addition to playing your own music. So I think that's pretty cool. It's like a unique space that you as a harpist probably get to enjoy that maybe some other talented musicians don't get to. But cool.
Yeah, I'm lucky that I play such a interesting instrument in a rock band setting. So generally, if I'm on tour with another band, they'll want me to play with them, which will sometimes lead to further collaboration. And I also love doing session work and just recording harp on people's albums. That's fun for me too.
Yeah. Do you have in your long span of collaborations, are there any where you've really been starstruck or super pleased with the final product, or any that just really stand out to you?
Yeah, I mean, when I toured with Weir a while ago in Europe and got to sit in with him and play a couple songs with him, that was a nerve-wracking moment for me, but pretty cool too, because I listened to his music when I was in high school a lot. And then, of course, playing with Bob Weir and Phil Lesh is always amazing. And the first time I got to do that, I was extremely nervous. But it always ends up being so much fun. You realize, like, oh, these musicians, they're just people too. They're not scary and super judgmental. Like, they're just trying to have fun up there too on stage. And generally, once I'm up there and lean the harp back, I feel fine. And can go for it.
Yeah, cool. Do you feel, because there's like Bon Iver versus the other musicians you mentioned, like there's a pretty big contrast in sound, and I feel like you've played with quite a lot of different sounds and genres, and you've lent your voice to a lot of different things. Do you feel like there is a musical sphere or genre whose fans or artists you really connect with? Like, there's the jam band
That's a
scene.
good question. Mm-hmm. I don't really know, and I'm actively trying to figure that out, because I like all sorts of music, and I think I've landed on realizing that I don't really want to fit into any specific genre. I just want to be able to be involved with all of it, because it's all great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, why limit yourself?
Yeah, exactly. Just have one foot in every door. But at the same time, I always wonder if that's working against me, because like I can't, fully commit to one genre, I guess. So is it harder to build a fan base when you're kind of just like dipping your toes everywhere, where people are like, oh yeah, I've heard about this person, but I'm not like, coming in hot, strong in the jam world or in the like Americana world.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a learning experience, but I'm just trying to pave my own path, I guess, and see where it takes me.
Yeah. And I think just having your own music that you are writing and co-writing and putting out is definitely that path forward. Yeah, I had a lot of friends when I was telling them I was doing this interview. I have a lot of friends who are Deadheads, and they were really excited because they had seen your covers.
Cool. Okay, well maybe we'll play a Dead tune tonight. They come after the show.
Okay, awesome. I hope I hope you all are listening. They were talking about the ticket link and everything, so they know to go. They know to go out.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, awesome. Going back a little bit to the just you being a harpist. You've said there is a little bit of a, the harps, everyone knows what a harp is, but there is a little bit of a novelty with it just in terms of it appearing in current music and contemporary music. And like, I feel like I have a pretty good musical bank, but I really don't know too many contemporary or more recent harpists. I know like Joanna Newsom, and Mary Lattimore, she opened for Beach House this past summer when I saw them. So I have a little bit of experience, but I feel like the average person like myself probably just isn't exposed to the harp that much in their musical discovery, which I'm sure you've been aware of. But is there anything, like when you're reaching listeners or people who might be hearing you for the first time, where it's their first exposure to the harp, in like a contemporary setting, is there anything you're hoping to leave with them or impart to them about the harp? Or is it just kind of like you're going to play your thing and hope people like it?
Yeah, I mean, I guess people should know that a harp can stand its own in any area of music, and it's just a really cool instrument, but it doesn't have to be all about the harp, I suppose. But yeah, I guess I'd like people to see that the harp is not just like a flowery angel instrument. It can be hard. It can be rock and roll, and it could be metal too if it wants to. Punk. I mean, anything. You can do anything with the harp. It's a pretty cool instrument, and I guess I hope that's people's takeaway when they walk away from a show.
Yeah, that's how I'm excited for tonight. And also just like watching videos, it's super cool. Kind of seeing what you've done in live sessions and on stage. You've already defied my expectations of what the harp could sound like. So yeah, I could say you've already left me with that impression.
Awesome, thanks.
Of course. Pivoting a little bit away from, your musicianship and more on just being an artist working in today's time. How do you enjoy the business of being an artist and is having to deal with, the promotion and the financial aspects and just making money and supporting yourself? How does that kind of fit in with your life? Is that something you enjoy? Is that something you would wish you didn't have to deal with?
Yeah, that's a good question, because it's not something people talk about that much, but it is a real struggle. I mean, for pretty much anyone you would ask this question to, it's really hard to make a living being a touring musician, and most people have to be working other jobs and whatever they can do to make ends meet. But there's some of it I do like. I like the promotion. I like putting posts together on Instagram and like making things look pretty. And I really love putting merch together, mm-hmm. and like having a vision and hiring different artists to make that come into fruition. Like all that is really fun for me. But yeah, the business aspect. I mean, I hate it. I hate, having to deal with money and talk about money, but it's just something you have to do. And I own my own business. Like, this band is an LLC, so I have to think about those things. But sometimes I feel like I don't have time to play music because I'm just dealing with everything else to the point where at the end of the day, I'm like, wow, I have to do so much to put this tour together. I don't even have time to like sit with my instrument and practice and try and do things before a show, because there's just so many other things to do, especially when you're, touring at such a small scale like I am. I'm just in my minivan with a trailer, no tour manager. Like, for instance, I'm driving right now. And so, it can be really tough some days, but when, how I like to explain it to people is you're working, you're working all times except for when you're getting paid to work. Like, you get paid to have fun, and then you don't get paid to do all the work. So there's a big trade-off, because I know once you hit a certain threshold, you start to make it work. But I mean, when we're all on stage playing together, it's all worth it. Like, when we're playing a show, when the audience is there and present and reactive to what we're playing, I mean, it is just magical. It's the best feeling in the world. So I guess that's why we do it.
Yeah. That's a really, really interesting way of thinking about it, especially if you're your own manager, you're your own boss. Like, you're not paying yourself for curating that Instagram post, or that just has to happen.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Cool. Well, I appreciate the honesty, but yeah, I mean, I can't think of too many people who would say it's easy being a musician, especially today.
Yeah, and it's not something that people will post about, obviously, but it's like you'll look at you look at other artists, what they post on social media, and it's like, wow, they're really successful, they're really out there having a great time, and in reality, people are, it's a struggle, but we still love it.
Yeah. All for those moments on stage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, cool. I have really appreciated speaking with you.
Yeah, thanks so much for doing this interview.
Yeah, of course. I'm glad we got it to work, even though late in the hour. But to close us off, do you have anything? I know you've got one day of rest and then more touring to end off the year. But is there anything that people can expect from you, or anything you're really excited about coming up in the future?
Services, we're putting out a little EP called Our Creepy Eep Hour, and it's me and Southern Star, my band. It's a collection of 3 songs. They're instrumentals from Jerry Garcia's album Garcia, and it's pretty out there. It's not what one might expect for putting out a Grateful Dead Jerry Garcia cover, but it's really cool, and it's coming out on Halloween, and we're excited about that. And pretty soon, I'll be announcing some other exciting collaboration. And Circles Around the Sun have been recording some things together, and that will be talked about more soon.
Yeah, okay. Big things coming up, especially Halloween's right around the corner. We were just talking about that. So I cannot wait to listen. Thank you again for joining me. Everyone, Mikaela will be at the Bishop tonight, so Tickets still on sale online and cheaper online, so you should go purchase them. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your drive to Bloomington. And some of us will see you out tonight. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Of course. I'll talk to you later. Maybe not, but
yeah, sounds good. Definitely.
Have a good one. I'll see you there. Bye. All right, everyone. That was my interview with Mikaela. That went so well. I hope the audio wasn't too bad. I literally just had her on my phone because I couldn't figure out how to get the phone in the station to work. But we persevere. Thank you all so much for listening to Growing Pains. I'm here every Friday at 3 p.m. with cool special guests each time. This will be posted so you can listen back if you're just tuning in. Next up is Happy Hour featuring Trent Schneider. It's going to be some good vibes, so stick around for that. Thank you all once again for tuning in. This has been Growing Pains. Have a great rest of your Friday and have a good holiday weekend. Bye-bye.